Hey folks, Quill18 here, and today we're going to talk about Anno 117, which I have played. Ubisoft recently invited me to an exclusive preview event in Rome, Italy. Yes, actual Rome, where I was able to explore the city, visit an olive plantation, and even got to plant my own tree. And most exciting, I get to spend 3 full hours playing Anno 117, Pax Romana, and I captured some footage for you that I can share with you today. That's playing in the background. If you are new to the channel, I have played various iterations of Anno in the past, and since getting back from my trip, I dove back into Anno 1800s. I've been streaming it. This latest installment, this newest installment, is going to take us backwards in time to ancient Rome, and it has been on my radar since it was first announced. So getting hands-on time with it in the perfect setting was an incredible experience. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through what I played, how it compares to especially Anno 1800, because it's the most recent in the series, and all the exciting new features that'll make this feel like I think a real evolution in the series. So let's dive in. So first, let me set the scene a little bit. Ubisoft went kind of all out with this preview event. We are in this beautiful venue in Rome, surrounded by ancient ruins. Talk about atmospheric. The development team from Ubisoft was there to guide us through the game, answer questions, and listen to my extremely petty, insightful feedback about my particular user interface preferences. Each of us had our own station with high-end PCs running a preview build of the game. The developers mentioned it was a work in progress, but I have to say it was really polished for a game that's still in development. I've played a lot of early access sort of press preview builds of stuff, and this one, yeah, definitely had that extra level of polish already. What struck me immediately was how gorgeous the game looks. I mean, a lot of the Anno games have always been really pretty, but this one definitely ups the graphics in a ton of ways. We had a presentation before we sat down to play the game, and some of the art director was really able to give us an interesting breakdown of how they went about designing these new buildings, their new goals for the visuals of the game, and yeah, it really is really pretty. Let's talk about the core gameplay mechanics now. So for those of you unfamiliar with the Anno series, these games are city builders at heart, but with complex economic simulations, trade networks, and strategic elements layered on top. Anno 117 follows this tradition, but places you in the role of a Roman governor in the year 117 AD, during the height of Pax Romana, a period of relative peace and prosperity in the Roman Empire. Because one of the things the Anno series is not are sort of gritty combat games. There's a little bit of combat. You get your ships that have some cannons or whatever, you know, and you're blowing up pirates or doing other things like that. And there is some conflict that can happen with some of the other, like the AI people that are playing in the game, but it's not a combat simulator, really. Your job is to build and manage cities, establish production chains, satisfy your citizens' needs, and navigate the politics of the empire. Do you push for economic growth and trade, or you focus on military expansion? Who do you ally with and who do you war? There's also some interesting new choices about loyalty to the empire, which I think will be really fun to explore. These choices are all going to influence how your governance is going to play out. To compare it to Anno 1800, Anno 1800 had different regions, like the Old World versus the New World, but Anno 117 takes this concept further with its culturally distinct provinces. You govern both Latium, which is in the heart of the Roman Empire, and Albion, representing Roman Britain with its Celtic influence. What makes this really different from Anno 1800 is how these provinces aren't just geographically separate areas with different resources. They represent fundamentally different cultural identities, which you can either preserve or transform. So unlike 1800s regions, which maintained fixed cultural identities, Anno 117 lets you actively decide whether to romanize, I guess, Albion, or to preserve its Celtic traditions, changing not just how the province looks, but how it functions economically and socially. Each province still has unique resources, building styles, and citizen needs. For example, certain luxury goods like Tyrian purple dye can only be done in Latium, but are needed for high-tier Roman citizens in either province. This creates meaningful trade dependencies while also adding cultural transformation as a new strategic layer. Since the preview event, I have gone back to playing Anno 1800 to really get a feel for what's changed, and yeah, there are a lot of significant and sometimes subtle improvements and changes that make Anno 117 feel like a genuine evolution of the series, and one I'm really hyped to play. The biggest change that I think kind of, in my opinion, I think, because it's a big mechanical change, is that Anno 117 introduces a significant change to how buildings influence their surroundings compared to Anno 1800. So in the previous game, many effects like beauty and pollution operated on an island-wide level, meaning factories would reduce the entire island's attractiveness rating, regardless of where they were placed, and every factory in the city decreased its attractiveness. By contrast, Anno 117 implements a more localized system, where buildings have specific areas of effect that directly impact neighboring structures. According to a recent devlog, what's new in Anno 117 Pax Romana is that production buildings can affect their surroundings with buffs and debuffs, creates more nuanced puzzle of building placement, where positioning structures strategically becomes crucial for maximizing productivity and revenue. For example, placing complementary production buildings near each other can create beneficial synergies, while polluting structures will only impact their immediate vicinity rather than the entire settlement. This change makes the spatial planning of your cities much more important and rewards thoughtful layouts over simply segregating industrial areas to sort of separate islands. And this is something that definitely, when I came home from the trip and started streaming Anno 1800, it was weird to me that how ingrained the idea of like a building actually have like an aura around it, how ingrained it was in my brain, and how surprising it was to not find it in Anno 1800 after that. Like, for example, in 117, I think pig farms, for example, are very unappealing to live around, which makes perfect sense. So you're ending up having to like decide where you're tucking things and stuff like that. But some of the other manufacturing buildings didn't have the same negative. And in fact, if you were building housing within range of certain manufacturing buildings, it would increase the tax revenue that you would get out of those houses, because the idea is they have better access to these local goods and are spending more money there. A lot of the regular mechanics in terms of like building range along roads and things like that for transporting goods is basically entirely the same, but there's this extra layer that I think is going to lead to more interesting, puzzle-like gameplay when you're trying to build your cities. The user interface has also received some major overhauls. Information is more clearly presented. Many functions that required multiple clicks in Anno 1800 can be accessed more directly. I think part of it is, as was explained to me by some of the viewers, some of the extra UI features in 1800, some of the graphs and things like that, were things that were added later on in the game's development, like later on in patches and along with some expansions and stuff like that. And so one of the advantages that Anno 117 will have is that some of these features are sort of first-class features that are making it into the base game right from the start, and the UI has been more carefully crafted around that. I found the building placement to be a little bit more intuitive. The blueprint mode from Anno 1800 is back, but with some extra enhancements. And there are a lot of like little subtle things that are hard to describe. Like there's something slightly nicer about the way that farm fields are placed in 117 as opposed to 1800. Just the way you can sort of drag the fields. I mean, unless I imagine it, but I'm pretty sure going back to 1800, like there's something about this is not quite as smooth with the way you can drag it. So that'll be a nice little thing. So I think there's just been a lot of little cleanups. The way that some of the hotkeys and like WASD movement and stuff like that has been implemented just felt really nice and smooth to jump in. Of course, everything can be customized still as you go. Moving away from UI, let's talk about the Romanization system. I don't know why I have such a hard time with that word. This is possibly the most significant new gameplay mechanic, is the way that the differing cultures work. Now, I wasn't able to experience this firsthand in my gameplay, just because of the limited time, limited scope that we had to explore things, but this is something that feels really fresh for the series and transforms how you approach population management. So in Anno 1800, your citizens simply progressed through tiers as you satisfied their needs. Now, the tiers of the population were different in the old world versus the new world. They did have, different needs, so they sort of represented a different culture. But the difference in Anno 17 is when your citizens are ready to advance from tier 1 to tier 2, you have a critical choice to make. And we're specifically talking about like in Albion here. Do you push for Romanization, encouraging them to adopt Roman customs and architecture, or do you preserve local Celtic traditions? It's not just a cosmetic choice, it fundamentally changes what those citizens will need, what they'll produce, and how they'll contribute to your province. It does affect your visual style, though, as you would expect. So, for example, Romanized cities feature those iconic sort of red tiled roofs and citizens demanding goods like togas, which require specific production chains, like for flax and with the Tyrian purple dye. Meanwhile, Celtic aligned settlements maintain their traditional housing and produce goods like woolen trousers using local resources and techniques. What's really interesting is that you seem to be able to mix and match. Like, you can have these mixed cultural settlements for different tiers of your population, combining elements of both approaches. Again, didn't play too much with it firsthand, but the presentations about it were really interesting. The terrain system also got a major upgrade. One of the things that's specifically mentioned in some of the dev blogs is that Anno 1800 has like a maximum terrain slope of 12 degrees, but Anno 117 doubles it to 24%. Yeah, sorry, not 12 degrees, 12% slope versus 24% slope. It sounds like a minor technical detail, but it drastically changes how the islands look and feel. You get just much more interesting terrain and landscape, and you're now able to build proper hillside settlements with terrace buildings, apparently, which sounds really exciting. Sloping up hills or climbing up slopes in a way that feels more authentically Mediterranean. Developers mentioned they specifically studied ancient Roman hillside towns when designing the system. Rivers and natural features play more significant roles too. In Anno 1800s, rivers were mostly decorative, but in 117, they're integrated into gameplay mechanics. For example, building clay pits along there. Now, there are also aqueducts in this game, which unfortunately I didn't get to push myself far enough to get to that point. To increase, you can use it to increase irrigation for your farming and bring fresh water just generally through. I mean, what's a Roman game without aqueducts? But I'm really excited to see how that affects your layouts of your cities as you get a little bit further into the game. There's modular ships now, so naval gameplay has always been central to Anno in general, and Anno 117 introduces a completely new modular ship system. Instead of simply building predefined vessel types, players will have extensive customization options to create ships specialized for specific needs. The system's sort of a little like reminiscent of some of the modules and things that you get to play with in Anno 1800, but just taken to the next degree. The diplomacy system has also received significant attention in Anno 117. As the title Pax Romana suggests, maintaining peace and stability is the key theme in the area. According to Ubisoft, the game will feature two distinct paths for the player as governor, either remaining loyal to Rome or pursuing rebellion, with each path offering different diplomatic challenges and opportunities. The developers has talked about that they plan to focus on more diplomacy than in previous games, allowing players to navigate relationships with local leaders, other governors, and the emperor himself. This focus on diplomatic gameplay aligns with the historical context of the Pax Romana period, which was characterized by relative peace and stability throughout the Roman Empire, while still managing tensions between Roman authority and local cultural identities. After my 3 hours with Anno 117 Pax Romana, I came away genuinely impressed and excited for the full release. I was also, the second I'm getting home, I'm loading up Anno 1800 because I've got the bug here, which is great. It does feel like Ubisoft has taken everything that worked well in previous Annos, including 1800, refined it, added some innovative new systems that make perfect sense for a Roman setting. The cultural choice mechanics, incredible new visuals, the day-night cycle, which does exist in Anno 1800, but I feel like the effects really got kicked up several notches in 117, and the enhanced diplomacy all combined to create what feels like a fresh take on the Anno formula, without abandoning what makes these games special. For longtime fans of the series, so I have played many Annos before, but I'm not going to say that I'm a hardcore Anno players. My hope is that for long-time fans of the series, there's plenty of familiar gameplay to enjoy while still feeling fresh and original. And for newcomers, the Roman setting, I think, is going to be a compelling entry point to the series. Like, for me, the Industrial Revolution age of Anno 1800, like, it's shameful that it didn't play more of 1800 because it's such a perfect setting for me and my interests. But I'm super into Rome as well, but I think Rome is also a very popular setting in general, and I think that has a high chance of making this like an extra successful version of Anno. After all, who doesn't love Roman stuff? And don't worry, I'll definitely have more Anno 117 gameplay and coverage coming to this channel as we get closer to launch. If you enjoyed this preview, do make sure to hit that like button and subscribe and leave a comment. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. And in the comments, let me know what aspects of Anno 117 you're most excited about, and what was your, I don't know, your favorite version of Anno, or what you started on, which might be one and the same. For a lot of times that's what happens, but I have to say, just kind of on principle, I really, really like the 1800, which I don't think is just because it's the newest and shiniest. I mean, at this point, what did it come out with? 2019? I feel it's been a while. But yeah, just for me, I really tend to like that setting, but I'm super excited for Rome. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you hopefully soon. I don't know. No clue at this point, but do stay tuned for some Anno 117 coverage. Bye-bye.